So in this video, I'm going to show you how to bring up a second window, a second Tkinter window, and then have the second window wait for the user's input before giving control back to the first window. So here's an example. Here's a window on the screen, and when you click on Ask for Username, a window pops up, and this window won't give control back to the main window until this top level window closes. So if I try to click on Ask Username again, or if I try to click on Exit, it won't respond until this top level window closes. I'll show you how to create this in Tkinter.
Hi, my name is Jobin, and I'm an open source developer. My channel is called Jobin Pi, and it's all about Python and Linux. Welcome to Jobin Pi.
Okay, so the first thing I'll do is I'll say import Tkinter as tk, and then from Tkinter import ttk, because I want to use the newest ttk widgets. And I'm going to create the main window in its own class. So I'll say class main window tk.tk, and then we'll initialize it here, and we'll use super to call the init method of tk.tk. And here I'm just going to create a frame that covers the whole window. This is something that I just like to do. I like to create a frame that covers the entire window, whether it's a root window or a top level. Okay, so frame main.pack, fill equal tk.both, expand equal true. So in our frame, we want to have two buttons, one that says get username and the other one that says exit. So self.button.getUsername equal ttk button, and we'll put this into self.frame main. Text will be get username, and that's it for now. Then we'll have a second button that will say button exit equal ttk.button. We'll also put that in self frame main, and the text will be exit. Then we're going to have a label below those two buttons that will show what the username inputted for a username. So I'll say self.label username.ttk.label. This will show the username. And we'll also put this into self.frame main, and the text starting off will be no username specified. Okay, so now we can pack the widgets on the screen, starting with self.frame main. Oh, actually we already packed it up here, so I'm going to move this and bring it down here. That way the creation of the widgets is separate from the packing of the objects. Okay, so we have self frame main. Next one is button get username, and we'll pack that as well. Self.button exit.pack and self.label username.pack. Okay, so let's just see what we have so far. If name equal main, then main window equal main window. Oh, I also need main window dot main loop. Okay, so now we can run it. Yeah, so we have our window here. And when I click on get username, I want it to pop up with a new window. So let's just do that now. Before that, maybe we should code in the exit button. So def on exit button clicked. And then we'll say self.destroy, and button exit here, we'll give it the method to run, which is self.onExit button clicked. And we don't want to run it, we just want to pass it. We just want to pass this, so I'm not going to put in the brackets like that. Okay, so I'm just going to run that, make sure the exit button works, and it does. And now it's time for the get username button. On get username button clicked. Okay, so here I'm just going to pass it for now, and we need to create our second class, or our second window, our top level window. So class username window, and this will derive from a top level widget, and we'll just initialize it here. And this init is initializing tk.toplevel. That's what that does. Okay, and I'm also going to create a frame here that covers the whole window. So self.frame main equal ttk.frame. We'll put this into self. And then we're also going to have an entry. So self.entry username, so we can ask the username to type in, so we can ask the user to type in a username, equal ttk.entry, and we'll put this into self frame main. Then we also need another frame to hold our two buttons, the OK button and the cancel button. So I'll say self.frame buttons equal ttk frame, and we'll put that in ttk frame, or we'll put it into self.frame main, like that. Then we'll create our OK button, and we'll put it in our frame. That's called frame buttons. So button OK equal ttk.button, and we're putting this into self.frame buttons. And the text will be OK. And we also need our cancel button, which we'll also put in the same frame. Frame buttons, text equal cancel. So the reason why I'm putting the OK button and the cancel button in a separate frame is because I want to use grid with these two buttons. And the entry username widget, I'm just going to use pack. Okay, so now we can put the frame on the screen. So we'll say self.frame main.pack, fill equal tk.both, expand equal true. And same thing with the username entry. So entry username.pack. And also the frame that's holding the buttons. And we also want to grid the buttons on the screen. I'm just going to grid the buttons in the frame before the frame, before packing the frame. So I'll say self.button OK.grid row equals 0, column equals 0. You don't have to put row equals 0, column equals 0, because if you don't specify anything, that's going to be the default. But I just like to specify it anyway. Self.button cancel.grid. So I want the cancel button to show up beside the OK button, on the right of the OK button. So it's going to be on the same row, but it's going to be column 1. Okay, so I don't think we're missing anything else here. I'm just going to go back into our first class, our main window class. And when the user clicks on the get username button, we want our second window to show up. So we'll say username window equal username window, and now we're calling the class or instantiating it. And that should be sufficient just to get something on the screen. I'm just going to run it and see where we're at. Oh, there's something that we're missing. Oh, we need to put the command for the get username button. Okay, so we'll do that here. So we would click the button, but we didn't tell it which method to run. So it's going to be self.on get username button clicked. Okay, so let's try that again. There it is. Okay, so we have our window here. So we want the user to type in a username. So, you know, my username, something like that. And when they click on OK, we want the username to appear in the parent window in that label. But one thing that's happening here is when the second window comes up, it still lets me interact with the first window. So I have my top level window open. I can still click on get username. I can just click on it as many times as I like, and it just keeps coming up. So obviously this gives it a very unprofessional finish. So we should implement something in here where when we click on get username, it shouldn't let the user click on that button again. In fact, it shouldn't let the user interact with our main window here until a username has been specified, or until this window, the top level window, has closed. Now I'm just going to close that down, and we can implement the logic for that. Watch what happens when the username window comes up on this line. What's going to happen is that it's going to continue to execute the lines in this method even after the top level window has opened. So I'll show you an example. So this line shows the second window, and the next line, and now on the next line I'm going to put print finished. If I run this, as soon as I click on get username, you can see down here that finished shows up on the screen. So this line executed immediately after the second window came up. So if I try to get the username somewhere here, by then the top line has already returned. So I'm going to prevent that from happening. We want this line to stop until this window has closed, and then we can get the results from the class. And then we can get the results from the object up here that says username window. Okay, so what we need to use to make this wait is the following. In our username window, in our username class, I'm going to add self.waitWindow self. And watch what happens. When the window comes up, this line won't execute until we close our second window. Let's see this in action. Okay, so now we have our window open. There's nothing down here yet. I'm going to click on get username. Okay, and we get our top level window to appear. But notice down here, it doesn't say finished. So it hasn't actually executed this yet. It's waiting for this to return. So if I go back into here, and now if I close this window, watch what happens down here. Now it says finished as soon as I close the second window. So this is the key here, is to use self.waitWindow. And what this is doing is it's waiting for this object. So the self here is in reference to the username window class, which is our second window, our top level window. So essentially it's waiting for itself before continuing to read the next line. You could actually write this a different way. Instead of putting self.waitWindow and then self in our top level class, then you could actually put that in here. So we could say, instead of that, we can say self.frame main wait window, and we're going to wait for that object. And if we try it, let's just see if we get the same result. Okay, so we have our second window to come up, and we still don't see finished here, so I'm going to close this window, and then we see it. So this is another way of doing it. So this one requires a bit of an explanation. So here it says self.frame main. So why are we using frame main here? It doesn't have to be frame main. It could be virtually any widget that has a wait window method. So a frame has it, even buttons have it. So I could say self.button get username dot wait window, and that also has a wait window method. So now the button is going to wait for that username window object to release itself or to close. So now if we run it, we're going to get the same effect. There's no print finish down here, but now we see one. So this is another way you can do the same thing, but I find that it's easier and it's more readable if you just add it to the top level class itself, like that, self.waitWindow and then self. And then here we can create a variable. So username window equal, and that way we have the object stored in here. So knowing that, there is still a little bit of a problem. If I run this again, sure, it doesn't return execution to line 34, it's waiting, but it's still going to let me interact with the get username button. So if I close these, we can see finish there, and finish there. So that's not exactly what we're looking for, but it's a start. So the next piece of the puzzle is self.transient and then self.master. So this will cause the top level window to connect itself in a way to the parent window, in a way so that if, for example, if the parent window gets minimized, the top level window will get minimized with it. Okay, and we also need self.graph_set, and this will cause the window to be always on top, and it'll prevent the user from interacting with the parent window when the top level window is open. Okay, so let's see this in action. Okay, we have our root window, then we're gonna see our top level window, and now if I try to interact with those buttons, nothing happens. It won't let me click on them. I can still click on the minimize button, and if I do, notice that the top level window got minimized with it, and it's because of this. If I were to remove that line or to comment it out, it still won't let me interact with those buttons, which is good. But if I minimize the root window, notice how the top level window still appears on its own. So in cases like this, I like to use transient alongside graph_set and wait window. And when we have those three together, it gives the results that we're looking for. Okay, so now to finish this off, we need to actually get the user's input from here. Okay, so we're going to have a method on OK button clicked. And when the OK button is clicked, we want to get the text that's inside the entry. So we can say self.username equal self.entry username.get. And I'm just going to initialize that that variable here. So self.username. So I'm just going to initialize that here. So self.username equal none. Starting off, we just won't have the value. And then later, when the user clicks on OK, it's going to fill self.username with the value inside that entry. And after that happens, we just want to close the top level window, so self.destroy. And remember, self is in reference to this, tk.toplevel. Okay, and in our username window specifically. And also for the cancel button, on cancel button clicked, and here we're just going to have self.destroy like that. Okay, so now instead of printing finished, we can actually get the username that the user inputted. So we can say print username window dot username. We have to connect the cancel button and the OK button to the methods that we just created. So we say command equals self dot on OK button clicked, and command equals self on cancel button clicked. Okay, so let's just run that and see what we get. So get username, and I'm just going to put here my cool username, and I'm going to click on OK. Yeah, there we go. We got our username. But now we want to have it show up on our label here, so we'll just do that real quick. So we'll say self.label username.configure text equal username window dot username. So get username, my cool username, click OK, and there we have it. Okay, so this is how you can wait for a top level window to close before proceeding with the code in the parent window. This is useful for creating message boxes or for getting user input. It'll come in handy in a lot of different situations. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you learned something. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.